time in their history. For Japan, of course, qualification is simply expected, given they have won this tournament on 3 previous occasions. However, Saudi Arabia have also won on 3 previous occasions, and they're going home.
Well, not yet. Depends on tonight's result. And a win for Japan, and the Saudis will be packing their bags. They won't mathematically be able to make it. So they'll be hoping for a Syrian result. It will keep the Saudis alive, and game 3 will be game on between Japan and Saudi. And that's 90 minutes away. Those permutations will take shape over the next hour and a half. Syria lit up the competition with their victory over Saudi.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem of Syria. Now, the national anthem of Japan. الآن مع النشيد الوطني للمنتخب الياباني.
Well, there's a great atmosphere inside the Qatar Sports Club. Such an important game. A reminder, Jordan defeating Saudi Arabia a little bit earlier on today. So the Saudis almost out of contention. The 2-team lineups. Syria have made one change. Tita Valerio has replaced the striker with a midfielder, albeit an attacking one. Sanharid Malki standing down for Sama Awad. Star striker Firas Al-Khatib remains on the bench. Musa Balhous, the goalkeeper, is also the captain. Our referee today is Mohsen Torki of Iran. His compatriots Hassan Kamranipour and Reza Sorkandan run the lines. Two captains exchanging pennants. Musa Balhous of Syria and the Japanese skipper, of course, Makoto Hasebe. Now there's a slight delay because there is a problem with the Syrian midfielder Wael Ayan, who's been told that he's got to change his shirt and take out some sort of padding that was underneath that Syrian jersey. So a little bit of drama before we've even kicked off. This is the Japanese lineup. Perhaps surprisingly, Alberto Zaccheroni has gone with the same starting 11. It stuttered somewhat against the Jordanians. Zaccheroni has thus ignored the claims of Shinji Okazaki, so impressive off the bench in that first game, and he's stuck with Ryoichi Maeda up front. Zaccheroni hopes their sharpness and their fitness has improved, because, as I say, Syria do have the 12th man in the stands. Tita Valerio only been in the Syrian job 5 minutes, as the merry-go-round saw first Fajer Ibrahim, then Ayman Al-Hakim, and then Radomir Dujkovic all depart. And Alberto Zaccheroni has said this week his team need to work much harder to find the space against sides that will pack their defence against the Asian Cup favourites. So both teams in the huddle. Both teams fired up, no doubt, for this game. A reminder of the standings. Jordan top, played 2. 4 points. Syria second, played 1, 3 points. Japan third with 1, and the Saudis bottom with nothing. So away we go. We saw a super Syria and a rather jittery Japan a few days ago. What are we going to see today, I wonder?
Well, Simon, Japan are going to have to be markedly improved. They need more dynamism. Alberto Zaccheroni, the coach, used the word speed. They were certainly more sluggish than we've come, and ponderous than we've come to expect a Japanese team. Their big guns didn't really fire, and tonight they need Endo certainly on the ball now. In much better nick, Shinji Kagawa came into the game only towards the end, and Keisuke Honda was very peripheral at best. His free kicks were poor.
Good challenge by Wael Ayan, but the throw-in is taken quickly as Japan trying to put their foot down on the gas right from the off. Are you surprised he's stuck with an unchanged 11?
Hugely. I get the feeling this is just an act of stubbornness from the Italian coach. He probably wanted to play Okazaki. I can't imagine he wouldn't want to play Okazaki. But maybe playing games with the Japanese press.
Uchida, who will look to get forward, and Wael Ayan, who will offer cover for Nadim Sabag. That's going to be a key partnership, perhaps, for the Syrians as they try and keep the Blue Samurai at bay, because Uchida loves to get forward. He'll look to combine with Honda.
Yeah, he was a bit quiet on that, in that aspect, the other night. Nagatomo on the other flank was the dominant character for Japan in the overlapping sense, and when I talk about the dynamism of the Japanese team, it's so mostly evident when guys get down the flanks like Nagatomo is now.
He's got a bit of help too. And again, the Syrians deal with it. What's the Syrians' approach tonight, Andy? Do they try and come out and play, or do they follow the example perhaps of Jordan, sit back, absorb the pressure, stay compact, deny the space?
I think the lesson has been right around the Asian Cup for the lesser teams, if I can put it that way, to make sure you don't let the favoured opponents get any sort of foothold. So were I Syria, I'd be pushing up and harassing like Qatar did last night against China, like Jordan did against Saudi, like Jordan did against Japan, and then when they got the lead, they camped in their own territory. But you don't want to be giving Japan an opportunity to get into the swing of things. That is going to be courting serious danger.
Well, every Syrian player is behind the ball at the moment, save for striker Alzino. And now they'll try and break. Away they come through Abdul Razak Al Hussein, scorer of those 2 goals against Saudi Arabia. And I tell you what, every time Syria come forwards, you're going to hear this almighty roar. There are thousands of Syrians here tonight.
Well, there are. They're making for quite a spectacle. If Syria score, it'll be a case of hang on to your hats, because if there was a roof on the stadium, it would be lifted. They've provided great noise already. The hero for Syria the other night, Abdul Razak Hussein, not only scoring the goals, he covered enormous amounts of territory and leading the charge for his team. And we talk tactically about what to expect tonight. Well, Atsuta Uchida is, like Nagatomo, allegedly coming into the game with a slight injury concern. Both fullbacks for Japan. And Wael Ayam, the number 14, the left midfielder for Syria, was outstanding the other night. Now, if they get a chance to secure any sort of possession, he'd be directing it left, down the Syrian left flank, and just test out Uchida, see how good he is. He'll have a devil of a time if he's not 100% fit chasing Wael Ayam.
But they've given away a free kick in Honda stroke Endo territory, which is why Musa Balhaus wants that wall set absolutely correctly. Scored a couple of blinders, didn't he, at the World Cup finals in South Africa from set pieces. Japan. Keisuke Honda is measuring his run-up. Referee wants the wall back, the required 10 metres. Nervous moments for the Syrians. Referee keeping an eagle eye on that wall. Is it going to be Honda or is it going to be Endo? You'd fancy it might be Honda from this angle. Well, the wall did its job. Honda will get a second bite of the cherry. And that's very well defended by the Syrians, even though Fedas Ismail has caught one right in the stomach from the free kick. But you've got to take one for the team when there's a lot at stake.
Or possibly a little lower, Simon. But he did his job, he stood firm. He was a key player the other night against Saudi Arabia. He and Abdul Razak Hussein, a twin central midfield pairing. Such an important job to try and nullify Japan's midfield work, which is, by reputation, as good as there is in the tournament. But they've worked their way out of their own territory, Syria. First time they get to have a look really at Japan in their own territory.
Down the line for Jihad Al Hussein. Actually plays in Kuwait for Al Qadisiyah. Japan give it away. Over it comes, looking for Sama Awad. Huge expectation whenever Syria get inside Japanese territory. Nadim Sabat.
Good pressure there from Uchida. Plays in the space. And Nadim Sabat looking to just punch the Japanese left side defence, right side defence. On the Syrian left side.
Sama Awad, who is the only change tonight for the Syrians, made by Tita Valerio.
He's moved into the wide midfield position on Syria's left, while Ayan has moved to the inside left midfield position.
Whistle is blown. Free kick for the Syrians. A little bit of a push from the Japanese captain, Hasebe. Didn't seem to be a lot in it, in fairness. So maybe the first test for Eiji Kawashima and co. Abdul Razak Al Hussein on free kick duty. This might be the Syrians' best opportunity to put some pressure on the Japanese. Decent centre, well headed clear. Yoshida up in the air. Jihad Al Hussein. And then they switch it looking for Sama Awad. Uchida's header. Sama Awad shape for the shot, and while Ayan with the right-footed drive, he is naturally a left-footed player. And that was a good bit of hustling by the Syrians, but now they've committed the foul. A quite blatant professional foul by the left fullback, Nadim Sabak.
Good bit of harrowing there from Ryuichi Maeda. The striker dropping back to help his team in defence.
These two teams have only met once before at the Asian Cup. That was back in 1996. Japan won that particular match by 2-1. As Ali Diab deals with that centre. And then Wael Ayan is caught a little bit late by Matsui. And is the referee going to go to the top pocket? Here he is. First card of the night.
A bit of a soft yellow card, really. Matsui's entitled to go for the ball. It wasn't an overly boisterous challenge. Certainly wasn't dangerous. That sticky position now of having received a very early caution. Not 10 minutes gone.
Well worked out by Maeda to Keisuke Honda. And again, there's the cover provided by the Syrians, but they've somehow managed to give it away before eventually Feras Ismail steps across. But so far, they've managed to do what Jordan did and upset the rhythm of the Japanese. Not allow them too much space. Ali Diab's clearance. This is Endo. Worked out wide for Uchida. Hangs it up and it's a free header. Oh, he's put it wide. Would you believe it? Ryoichi Maeda. That was a glaring miss.
That's a terrible miss. This would have vindicated his selection. A huge outcry from the land of the rising sun that Shunji Okazaki didn't make the starting 11 for the Jordan game. Alberto Zaccaroni tempting fate by not selecting him again. Maeda getting the nod, but his nod went wide. It would have silenced a lot of people who've been very vocal in Japan about the selection, the coach's selection policy.
Now, I'm not sure whether a contact lens has perhaps gone astray, or there's a piece of dirt in the eye of Mosa Balhus.
It was a nice move constructed by Japan down the right-hand side. Really important for Syria. Down either flank, that the three closest defenders work in tandem to stop the Japanese overloading those areas, because it will be the basic tenet of a Japanese attack down either flank. Endo and Makoto Hasebe, one either side, linking with a Matsui or a Shinji Kagawa as Uchida and or Nagatomo overlap down the flanks of the Syrian defenders. Ali Diab on the right, Nadim Sabag on the left. Need to work very closely together, and Maeda needed to finish that. It's as good a chance as a striker's going to get.
Well, he's so prolific at club level. 17 goals last season, but couldn't hit the target from pretty much point-blank range. So an early chance goes begging for the Blue Samurai. Latecomers continue to arrive here at the Qatar Sports Club. Balhus, nothing wrong with his eyesight there.
He needed to be quick. Daisuke Matsui was approaching at speed.
Plays for one of Syria's finest club sides, Al Karama. Musa Balhus. Kono under pressure. Kawashima's clearance. Musa Balhus conceded just 2 goals in the 6 qualifiers to reach these Asian finals. Both of those were against China, and Syria won that match. The only team to go through the qualifying phase undefeated. As Honda prods it forward, but Maeda's touch lets him down. Holding on the Syria midfielder, Jihad Al-Hussein. It's been a fairly frenetic start, as we probably expected it would be. Players' adrenaline pumping, not least because of the noise coming from the stands. Now Uchida's got to be careful here. Sama Awad. It's always going to be a very narrow angle. That's credit to him for just putting a bit of doubt in Uchida's mind.
Well, definitely positioned himself well, and his first touch was really good. Somehow Awad, from that point on, just needed a bit more composure. Quite sure how he thought from that angle, when his body was in that position, how he was going to trouble Kawashima in goal. Much better off just to remain a little bit poised and see if you can either set Uchida up for another go or square the ball to your supporting strikers.
Are you seeing shades of Jordan yet?
Not yet. It's heading that way, though. I mean, they're up for the stink. Syria, make no mistake about it. Now, the question is, what lessons have Japan learned from game 1? Now, the Syrian midfield is flooded. It's a 4-5-1 configuration. Coach Alireo Tita has decided that the danger spot for Japan is that midfield, so he's flooded it with numbers. It's a completely predictable and reasonable tactic. And it's something Japan have to face most internationals they play. But what we're not seeing from Japan in these opening exchanges is any discernible increase in the pace of their play.
Which is what Zaccheroni demanded tonight. Easier said than done, though, isn't it? When you're up against a committed and powerful opponent. Syria are nobody's bunnies on the regional stage. In fact, they were pretty unlucky in World Cup qualifying not to reach the final phase. Only missed out on goal difference. So they are perhaps an emerging power.
Yeah, well, an emerging power. They've certainly got a good crop of players at the moment. There can be no mistake in the fact that football is a complete in Syria.
Oh, it almost dropped for Jihad Al-Hussein. In fact, it did drop for him, but he got it horribly wrong, the Syrian midfielder. And Japan will break. Shinji Kagawa. Need a lot more from him tonight, the Blue Samurai. That's a good ball. Honda's delivery. Clearance by Abulkader Deka. This is Summer Awards. Given away, though, by Royal Iron. Alzino combining with Jihad Al-Hussein, or at least attempting to. Japan quickly back on the ball.
Well, Endo is in better shape tonight. That's a good sign for Japan already in the last few minutes. We've just seen him string those passes together.
Nagatomo looking to pick out Maeda. Matsui, play on, says the referee. Maeda. That's terrific defending.
But it was a good response from Uchida, reading that Maeda had lost possession, indeed had been beaten to the punch. That's the air swing from Jihad Al-Hussein, and so much more promised. But Uchida read that defensive situation well, moved up from right fullback, trying to keep Syria pressed into their own territory. And this is such a key figure on the ball now, Yasuhito Endo.
He is the professor of the pass, isn't he? And he's picked out Shinji Kagawa. Little flick of the hips, and he was away from the fullback. Headed by Hasebe. Away rather agriculturally by the Syrians. It is remarkable, isn't it? The swings and roundabouts in the coaching chair for Syria, Andy, and yet here they are. Competitive, not only that, but with a real chance of going through to the quarterfinals for the first time ever.
Well, they set themselves up fantastically with that never say die performance against the Saudis. Matsui.
Well, Japan will get the free kick. Nadine Sabak doesn't agree.
We're going to have some work to do here in the centre of defence, and Bilal Abdul Daim and Abdul Qadir Deka were outstanding against the Saudis. It was a real onslaught in the closing stage of that match. The defending was chaotic, it was frantic, it was desperate, but it was effective. But the fact that they couldn't keep the ball, they just had to keep hacking it clear, invited the Saudis back onto them continually. I'm suspecting we're going to get more of the same here tonight, only with a more potent opponent in Japan.
Now watch out for Yoshida. Scorer in injury time, of course, to salvage a point against Jordan. Now, I'm presuming here that that's been given for handball against Sama Awad.
He's going to book him as well as he must.
There is Yoshida. Saved Alberto Zaccheroni's blushes, really, at this very stadium just a few days ago. He will be one of the threats. All reliant on Endo picking out a blue jersey. interminable delay. Most from Turkey has gone in to sort out a little bit more argy-bargy inside the penalty area. Now finally we're ready. And a good fist clear by the goalkeeper Balhus. Made his mind up early to come and got good distance on the punch. You can almost hear the tension evaporate in the stands, and now it will build again as Al Hussein goes down the line. And it'll be a corner for Syria.
Well, so much of that summed up why Syria are so alive in this tournament. Brilliant work from keeper Balhus. Desperate, right off the noggin of Keisuke Honda. And then they desperately swung it clear. Abdul Razak Hussein just keeping the ball in, and then, as successfully doing so, releasing Mohamed Al-Zino, and the corner is won. And there's a bit of claret on the lips of Keisuke Honda, care of that desperate punch away from Mossab Balhus.
Listen to the noise. And that's only because Syria's won a corner. Imagine if they scored. Japan will continue with 10 for a few moments. Now, while Ayan has got a great left foot, can he pick out the right delivery? Ali Daib. And that's going to be a goal kick. We'll talk about partisan supporters, Andy.
Well, they're very passionate. The national team hasn't been successful to the degree of passion that exists for football in Syria. The fans who are here at the Qatar Sports Club are giving everybody who's experiencing this a taste of the Syrian passion for the game.
This is their 5th appearance at the Asian Cup. Never been past the first round, and yet, interestingly enough, they've won at least one game every time they've been at this regional showpiece occasion. So you'd have to say, probably, by the law of averages,
the time's going to come soon.
Either that or they've been damned unlucky.
Well, they ought to be worried with the sort of movement that Yasuhito Endo is giving. His team is looking much better already, just those few days past since the Jordan encounter.
They haven't played a friendly since October, Japan. So maybe there was a bit of rustiness about them. Maybe there still is. Of course, the Japanese J-League out of season, so Alberto Zaccaroni had a few things to contend with in the build-up to this tournament. Not least the favourites tag that they're lumbered with every time they play at the Asian Cup. Perfectly understandable, of course. This is Honda, one of their talismanic players, arguably the best player in Asia. Yoshida. Cacophony of boos every time Japan have the ball. Nagatomo. Patient build-up. Honda drills it low and hard across the box. There's nobody there for Japan. And now, Sama Awad with a bit of help from Wael Ayan.
That's the energy with which Syria break. You know, we can focus on their fighting instincts, which are very clearly evident, their willingness to engage an opponent in a physical contest. And from that point, they have enormous energy to break forward and support whatever sort of attack is looming for them. I think they've got the mindset that we're probably not going to be able to create much. And so on the occasions we get the ball forward and there's a little bit of free turf to exploit, let's flood forward and see what we can do. It's going to be a test of Japan's running power in one sense. The football coefficient should go the way of the Blue Samurai, but they've got to be on their game to make sure that gives them the edge in this football match. If they're even slightly off, they're going to have to be able to mix it with Syria in the fighting and running stakes. It sounds like a pretty rudimentary assessment of what's required here, but if that's what Syria can achieve, then it'll be a huge peg in the ground for them.
And sometimes with some of the West Asian nations, you're concerned about the physical stature of some of the players, but certainly not with Syria, certainly not with Jordan, who of course are another big threat in this group. There's Makoto Hasebe's early stat. He's run nearly 3 kilometers already. If you want to get more detailed statistics for all the players on show tonight and at this Asian Cup, then visit the Asian Football Confederation's official websites, www.the-afc.com. Roll down the line for Wael Ayen. Good ball too, and Mohamed Alzino just couldn't make contact. Still might drop for Sama Awad. Well, they're almost bursting with excitement, the Syrian fans, whenever they get within sight of the Japanese penalty area, and they had a good sight. Mohamed Alzino just couldn't strain the neck muscles in the right direction. Well played, Belal Abdul Daim. He's got a tough task tonight, marking the super kid of Japanese football, Shinji Kagawa. He's done his job pretty well so far. Yoshida chips it forwards. Deka wins the battle. Brought clear by Sama Awad. Tackled by Uchida. But he's got help from Nadim Sabak. Well, they're so eager, the Syrians.
That's the thing. The beauty of this approach from teams like Syria, we've seen it with Jordan, is that they just don't wait. They don't let a game settle. They don't let an opponent settle. Indeed, they don't even take the liberty of allowing themselves to settle. It's foot flat to the floor the whole time. Their opponent on any given moment, in this case Japan, has no time to rest, because as soon as there's a changeover in possession, and if Syria forced, here we go again. Look at them flood forward, the men in red. It's brilliant to watch.
It's not a bad ball either. This is Jihad Al Hussein, and well, that was a bit optimistic from Abdul Razak Al Hussein. 2 goals against the Saudis, but I don't think he's going to beat Kawashima from there.
No, look, if you could just fix one thing, and you don't want to tinker too much with a formula that is very energetic at the moment, but once they get into that final third, there's been 3 or 4 occasions now where they've just lacked that composure, that little bit of sophistication to make the most of the wonderful momentum that they swing for themselves with this huge burst of energy. And I think the best crafted attack was the second but last one, where Wael Ayen burst up the left-hand side and hit that beautiful cross in. Mohamed Alzino couldn't crane his neck muscles, as you correctly called it, Simon. And a little bit more craft like that in the final parts of their attack. The rest of it is exhilarating to watch.
Playing on pure passion and adrenaline. And it's very exciting for the neutral. Advantage plays. This is Jihad Al Hussein. He's got the ball into the box. Alzino's first touch wasn't fantastic, in fairness.
Well, it was telegraphed. Very easy to read. Endo retreating from his central midfield position to help his central defenders. Now there's space on for Japan.
Maeda trying to return it to Honda. Will he get there ahead of the defender? No. Well done, Nadim Sabak.
And this is a really good riposte for Japan, Simon, because the football intelligence in the Japanese team told them one way of perhaps keeping Syria pegged back from these flooding counter-attacks is to hit them quickly yourself. 2 or 3 of them might start to think next time before they go. Takes a little bit of pressure off your own defence as you're attacking.
Short corner between Endo and Kagawa changes the angle. Back in by Hasebe. Cleared by Ali Diab. Every header, every kick, every forward movement's being cheered to the rafters by the Syrians in the stands. And they'll be on their feet again here. Abdul Razak Al Hussein. And he's given it away. Matsui. I'll tell you what, Andy. Group D was supposed to be the group of death at this Asian Cup. I'm going to go so far as to say that Group B might be.
Well, nowhere near it. This is the most compelling group. I mean, you've got 3 times champions, Saudi Arabia, already planning their exit. I mean, that tells you everything after 2 games. Losses to Syria, whom we're watching now, and then a little bit earlier to Jordan, as the Saudis licking their wounds. And Japan are going to have to work hard to make sure they don't suffer the same fate. They know they're in a stink, the Japanese.
That's a cute ball, though, by Yasuhito Endo. Driven hard across the face of goal. I think it came off Ali Diab. It did. And it's going to be a corner, and there's all sorts of recriminations going on back there in the Syrian defence. They're having it out here and now.
Well, that's nothing more than an indication of how committed they are to the cause. But they're right to be worried, because if Endo can continue in this vein, and he's been really good, much better tonight than against Jordan, at the base of Japan's attack, threading these passes, Syria are going to have a long night.
Endo's delivery. Oh, and it was flicked on at the near post by Honda, I think. Either he or Kono. It was the defender, Kono.
And he was claiming that he didn't get as much on the ball as he might, interfered with illegally by the Syrian defence. Not quite sure if his claims are valid. Yuto Nagatomo hurt in that challenge with Jordan captain Hatim Akil the other night. It's rendered the Jordanian skipper probably out for the rest of the competition there, the reports at least. Nagatomo has managed to regain his feet.
Now, here's Honda on the charge for Japan. 3 defenders with him. He goes around the outside. The goalkeeper's come an awful long way. Can Kagawa finish? He's going the long way around. Shinji Kagawa, great save by the goalkeeper. Panic stations here, and eventually Japan score through the captain Hasebe. They breach the Syrian rear guards. Makoto Hasebe leads by example, and Japan have the advantage.
Well, it's a celebration which is dipped very heavily in relief. The skipper to the fore for Japan, Makoto Hasebe. A brilliant finish, but it was the superstars who set it up. Firstly, Keisuke Honda down the right-hand side, and this play from Shinji Kagawa really set things up, and there was just a scramble of bodies. Syrians flying left, right and centre, trying desperately to stop the Japanese skipper from lancing their goal. But it's all in vain. Japan a goal to the good.
And it's only Hasebe's 2nd international goal in his 39th appearance. What a vital one it could prove to be. And will that one perhaps steady the rather shaky nerves of the title favourites? Well, Syria tried everything, didn't they? Literally everything to keep the ball out. They were throwing themselves in front of them like lemmings. What does Syria have in response? That should be the goalkeepers.
But they'll be rocked. Syria, understandably, by that. They'll have to recalculate their approach now. Japan are going to be very difficult to dispossess from here. And the patient Japanese game will now try and suck the Syrian players out of position, which will leave some space for them to exploit. But I can't underestimate how important Endo has been to this opening stanza for Japan. Quite the different player tonight from the other night, as was required. He's running the show completely.
Here he is again on the ball. Kagawa starting to play a bit here, Japan. Lovely 1-2 between Honda and Kagawa. Well, from Syria's point of view, Andy, at this juncture, you'd say they've got to get through to half-time without conceding a second.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. With the turn of speed from Keisuke Honda. And look at the goalkeeper's retreat here. Let's just highlight this. He's changing direction. He's tried to smother Honda. He gets up and denies Shinji Kagawa. But I reckon, despite that, it was the stop and prop from Kagawa which kept that whole thing alive. Instead of blazing away and shooting from a narrow angle.
A very cool finish too from Hasebe.
A lot lesser players than Shinji Kagawa would have lost their mind then, and as they were running away from goal, tried to squirt some sort of angled shot through the bodies, and it would have come to nothing. But the ability to stop and prop, even though his own effort was saved brilliantly by the goalkeeper. Tremendous work from Mossab Malhous there. All in vain in the end because of the skipper, Hasebe.
Down the line by Kagawa from Nagatomo. Endo. Little combinations starting to work for Japan. The 1-2s, the little triangles, the movements off the ball. Just perhaps beginning to justify their favouritism at this tournament.
This is certainly more like it, isn't it? Much more what we've come to expect. They're really starting to turn the screws. Syria now have been reduced to shadow chasing. They can't even get close to lay some skin on their Japanese opponents.
Hasebe, little dummy by Kagawa, but the Syrians weren't fooled. Uchida, oh, this is lovely stuff by the Japanese. How many passes is this?
Well, this is as a
Maeda, chance to shoot, and he drags it just wide.
I mean, these lessons, these viewings, these opportunities to watch these good players are really instructive. As Maeda shoots wide, it's his second good chance. Hasn't hit the target, forced to save on either occasion, the Japanese striker. We were at the Khalifa Stadium last night, and as Qatar put China under all sorts of pressure, China and its players simply couldn't control and pass the ball. And under similar pressure here, Japan have gradually worn Syria down, and the importance of technique for a footballer is clearly evident. China couldn't stop last night from becoming a cut and thrust, dash and dare football match, and it was thrilling to watch. But it got into the sort of area where China couldn't cope. And tonight, Japan with 7 shots, Syria yet to get one, is a measure of how expert Japan are, where China was so deficient, and it's the lesson for every team in the tournament.
You just sense that all that adrenaline that the Syrians had has just withered away slightly. It'll wither away more if they score a second here, Japan, and Matsui saw his shot deflected behind, and again there's a bit of an inquisition going on at the back for Syria. Dalhu's wrong-footed.
Decker providing the cover, and that was really just the starting point for the finger pointing. The questions, the arms out. Everyone with an idea on what someone else should be doing.
Endo to deliver. Oh, that wasn't too far away either from Ryoichi Maeda.
Well, he's banging away, isn't he? It's not going to be long before Zaccheroni's man scores. And he's a big lump of a striker.
Abdelkader Decker has come off worst in that aerial duel. I think Syria will be glad of the breather.
Yeah, I think they will. The energy's evaporating. If hope isn't for Syria, it's just a one-goal deficit. Japan are making it look a lot more stark than that. I just think that's superb work from Shinji Kagawa. Bit of a handy piece of shepherding there from Daisuke Matsui as well. He's been outstanding, the Syrian custodian so far. Were it not for him, it might be worse. And Syria need to get to half-time. They need to regroup. They need to find some answers in the dressing room. Look each other in the eye, start dishing out responsibility. How they're going to work their way back into this football match through football. Passion and commitment got them a win against Saudi. A little bit of luck with a deflected goal. Passion and commitment got them an even share of the early spoils here at the Qatar Sports Club. And now quality has sent Japan to the lead, and Syria are going to have to muster some of the same.
Half-time approaching. Honda probing. Nagatomo overlapping. 4 Japanese waiting. And one of them is the number 8 Matsui, who was just a toe poke away from giving Japan a 2-goal cushion. Edgy moments these for the Syrians. And Japan, after being in a slumber virtually for the entire game against Jordan, and probably for the opening 10 or 15 minutes here, have awoken. And how? Foul on Weil Iron. Syria anxious to get on with it. Really rather aimless cross from Sama Awad. Foul on Honda. Keisuke Honda has looked wonderfully unhurried tonight, hasn't he? He and Endo. Their quality just really starting to shine through.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be 3 minutes of added time.
Yoshida finds Honda, rides one challenge. Ricochets up into the air. Ali Diab was there. Back it comes for Hasebe. Nagatomo. Kagawa. Now he's given it away to Jihad Al-Hussein. They've got a man free on the left if they can find them, Syria. Jihad Al-Hussein wanted to do it all on his own.
Well, it was a good burst, and the option to cut back was a good one, but the second attack from him wasn't a good decision.
Bit too heavy for Matsui. We've played a minute and a half of the 3 additional minutes. Honda again just finding those little gaps between the midfield and defence, till he's eventually run out of it by Abokada Deka. It's Alzino, increasingly isolated.
Yeah, and it's increasingly Master V apprentice here at the Qatar Sports Club. And with a huge injection half-time, Syria. An injection of belief as much as anything. And Japan are just untouchable at the moment. They've earned that right. The goal has set the teams apart on the scoreboard, but it's driven a wedge between them in ordinary football terms as well.
Hasebe, scorer of the game's only goal thus far. Honda threads it through. Right idea. Too far for Matsu.
Another excellent half of football from Matsui. He was terrific in an underwhelming Japanese performance against Jordan.
What perhaps is most important, at least for now, is that Japan have taken the crowd out of the game as well. It was high-octane stuff to start off with by Syria. All adrenaline, but as soon as Japan scored through Hasebe after 34 minutes, the class started to shine through. At the interval at the Qatar Sports Club, it's the pre-tournament favourites with the advantage. They lead Syria by 1-0. Well, Andy, the old saying is, form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yes, indeed. Well, there's still so much for Syria to play for. The disappointing thing and the difficult thing to them to overcome in this half-time is to realise just how outclassed they are by Japan at the moment. Now, what is going to be the circuit breaker for them? Their best route to goal, their best route to the Japanese penalty area was emotion and energy and passion. And somehow, they're either going to have to rediscover that, or someone's going to have to find some football in their boots and start taking that momentum back away from Japan. I reckon the second part of that equation is probably too much for them. I don't know there's many teams in Asia who, when Japan are in this keep ball mood, can do a lot about it. Now, Syria have to find the energy to get back in their face, try and force errors. But this goal has done more than just separate them on the scoreboard. It's the double blow for Syria, because now they're chasing the game, and the confidence that Japan have got from that means they're chasing better footballers in better moods to play. And it's as close to insurmountable at this point for Syria, the way things are going, as can be.
Yeah, that goal has certainly caused a lot of collateral damage psychologically. In fairness, Japan might have been in front before then. Ryoichi Maeda's had a couple of opportunities.
Yeah, he has. You know, the striker who's a first choice in this national team of Japan really needs to do better on the occasions he's had these goal-scoring opportunities. They've been good ones. This was terrific from Syria. This was still when the score was 0-0. And that's the sort of effort that underlined the reason why they were so competitive. But gradually, Japan were turning the screws. Syria forced to defend deeper and deeper. Their hacked and desperate defensive clearances were coming back quicker and faster and way too repetitively.
And Yasuhito Endo has been at the centre of a lot of their good work.
No question in my mind. I mean, look at the turn of pace here from Honda. Look at this work from Shinji Kagawa. He sends two the wrong way. The keeper, full credit to Balhus. He stopped two efforts on his goal, but the third one was too much.
And he just passed the ball into the back of the net, didn't he? Makoto Hasebe. No panic, no, just pick your spot.
Good calmness from the skipper, and he, like Matsui, were good players in an underwhelming performance for Japan the other night. But they're looking really good, Japan, at the moment. Really, really good.
Just his second international goal, Makoto Hasebe. And try as Syria might, and they certainly did try. They were just throwing themselves in front of the ball. Well, they couldn't get it off the Blue Samurai.
At this point at 0-0, I mean, you can just so clearly tell the difference between 0-0 and 0-1 for Syria. Here they still completely believed in their mission. And at the front of their minds now, they still believe in their mission, but deep in the recesses, they're starting to lose hope because of the quality of Japan. And that desperation in trying to save that goal underlined it. Now look how far off they are, the Japanese strikers and the midfielders, and how much more space Japan have earned for themselves. And this is the key part of what Syria have to address at half-time. How do we stop that space again? We've either got to dig into our reservoir of emotion and national pride and get back in Japan's faces, or someone's got to find some football. And I think their answer is the first, not the second.
Okay, we'll see what Coach Tita Valeriu does in the second half, the half-time stats. And that second line there really says it all. 8 shots on target for the Japanese. Not a single test for Eiji Kawashima in the Japanese goal. And 68% possession for Alberto Zaccaroni's side. They've been slow starters in this Asian Cup, but they are starting to find their feet. And perhaps most importantly, they've found a goal. Japan that leads at the Qatar Sports Club at the interval. Join us again for the second half in a few minutes.
Today, I create my perfect world intelligently. You can tell.
No matter what happens today, you can't hold your stand. And it's not what they say, so be strong.
half.
Well, the Syrians may be winning the battle in the stands, but they're not winning the battle on the park. Japan with the advantage at the interval here at the Qatar Sports Club, given to them by their captain, Makoto Hasebe, with a very neat finish in the 35th minute. And what a fascinating second 45 we have here in Doha. If things remain the way they are, then Japan will join Jordan at the top of Group B on 4 points, and Syria will drop down to third. Saudi Arabia, of course, already out of it with their 2 defeats, and Jordan and Syria would then effectively play off for a spot in the quarterfinals on the final match day. Tita Valerio will hope it won't go that far. And to that end, he's going to make a substitution in the second half, and it's his star player, Faris Al-Khatib, to whom he has turned. The 27-year-old who plays in Kuwait for Al-Qadisiyah. His 50th cap it will be. He scored 25 goals. Is he to be the spark for the Syrians? Sama Awad is the man he's going to replace. And the man who scored 133 goals in 196 games for his previous club side in Kuwait, Al Arabi, gets his first taste of Asian Cup action here in Qatar. So it's Syria who get us back underway, trailing by a 1-0. And what do you make of that substitution made by Tita Valerio, Andy Harper?
Well, he needed to get some football on the field, and by bringing the national hero in a football sense onto the field, he might be playing the card we think he needs to. But a bounce of the ball, a referee's decision, or one lung-bursting effort from one player in red can change the whole complexion.
As Hasebi's goal did in the first half. Japan really started to find their rhythm. Syria had no answer, but They're back at the start of this second half with that energy back. The noise from the stands. Firas Al-Khatib on the park. Jihad Al-Hussein trying to tee it up, but there's nobody there for Syria. And Japan will clear. Well, if they do build a head of steam, and we're hearing it already, the fans will respond.
Exactly. Well, full credit to Valerio Tita. Made the substitution. And the team has come out with the very familiar fighting qualities that were ebbing away from Syria as Japan dominated the closing stages of that first half. But they're back. They've got their mojo back, the Syrians.
And they've got a free kick, which Weil Iron will deliver.
That's not going to help.
I think that's probably the most disappointing free kick I've seen at this Asian Cup.
Yeah, that's not going to help. Even the good players can fluff their lines, and he is a good player, make no mistake about it.
Plays in Saudi Arabia for Al Faisli, club that's just been promoted to the top flight in that particular country. What a shot that's been in Group B. Saudi Arabia, 2 games played without a point and heading home. Although not to you, Andy Harper, you predicted that.
Yeah. Oh, well, you get some right some of the time.
We'll give you a rap.
You get some right some of the time. Goodness knows we get enough wrong. Well, impressive work at half-time. We're only a couple of minutes into the second half from coach Tita of Syria. Personnel change, a structural change. They're 4-5-1, which sometimes morphed into a 4-4-3, has been converted into a straight 4-4-2. It's an extra player up forward.
Infringement by Abdul Razak Al-Hussein. Here come Japan. Maeda, surely he must finish. And Musa Balhous saves the day for Syria.
Well, it's very interesting, very timely at half-time. In the next booth from us, Simon, a former coach of Jubilo Awata. Yamamoto-san is working for Japanese media. And of course, Ryuichi Maeda is scoring bagsfuls of goals for Jubilo Awata, but he agrees with the assessment at the national team level at the moment. He's taking too many chances to score his goals. And that's his 4th good sight of the target in this match. And translating at the moment his club form into international goals is just a little bit too much. He took too long to get on to the end of that. It was a beautiful opening that was fashioned. Shinji Kagawa again, the deliverer. The good players for Japan are starting to aim up. And Maeda needed to convert that chance. That could have been the end of the section.
His 9th cap this evening, Ryuichi Maeda. He's scored 2 international goals. And at club level, as we mentioned in the first half, he is prolific, 101 goals in 232 games. And he's won the Golden Boot twice in a row in the J-League. The first Japanese guy, by the way, to win that award since 2002. So he is a rare talent. But it's just not, as yet, translated to the international arena.
Well, he's not shrinking away from his responsibility, which I admire in a guy. And strikers can go through lean periods. Very few strikers continue to score goals their entire career. At some point, they have a dry spell. But it's the guys who, when they're missing chances, not converting opportunities, who continue to front up for work. And Maeda's certainly in that category, which I find admirable. Not looking to hide. He's looking to work through, continue to be the focal point of his team's build-up. He just needs to finish off these chances. Meantime, as long as he fails to do that, Syria remain in the contest.
And this is Jihad Al-Hussein. Out for Belal Abdul-Daim. Shepherded away from the ball by Nagatomo. Looks like Belal is going to deliver what's become known in the trade as a Rory Delap. He's got good distance too. Oh, and Kawashima, I think it just bounced off his chest, the goalkeeper. He was a little unsure.
Fell into that corridor of uncertainty. He's been lively, the substitute, hasn't he? Firas Al-Khatib.
Intimidating noise around the Qatar Sports Club as Syria try to put some pressure on Japan. And now the lull as Keisuke Honda brings it clear for Japan. Kagawa back for Nagatomo. Endo showed too much of it to Firas Al-Khatib. Now Firas Ismail. They're working so hard, Syria.
Well, they're not going to die without asking questions, serious questions.
Jihad Al-Hussein.
It's been an excellent, excellent little period for Syria to come back into it. And I'm very impressed with the coaching. Very impressed with the coaching on the bench for Syria at half-time. The changes he's made so far.
Honda, he's on his own. Save for Matsui, wide right.
The last little piece of that expose from the coach is the realisation that someone's got to get close to Yasuhito Endo. And that last little piece of thievery from Firas Al-Khatib highlights the instruction. He dropped off the front line, came in from the blind side, nicked the ball from the Japanese maestro, and now Uchida with a yellow card. Syria, by force of will and a little bit of coaching now, are enjoying the pendulum swinging slightly back in their favour.
Firas Ismail. Short for Nadim Sabag. There's Firas Al-Khatib. Not sure whether he's 100% fit, Syria's star man. Sat out the first game against the Saudis. It's going to be another free kick. No, it isn't. Referee happy to play advantage. And now they've got a problem, Syria, because Honda is coming forwards. Kagawa, Endo. Not much movement up ahead for Yasuhito Endo. Hasebe has to be careful. Kagawa. Now, Nagatomo in behind, or at least he would have been, had his first touch been a little surer. A rare right. Honda. Kagawa. Little dink through for Matsui. Now Syria will look to break.
Impressive passage of play from Nagatomo, apart from that little technical deficiency when he was in on goal, as he called it so correctly, Simon. But there was a slight opportunity for Syria to break free there. Abdul Razak Hussein forced to go back towards right fullback with the ball rather than up towards right midfield, and Nagatomo was all over him. There's that poor touch. The heat off Syria.
Route one from Syria. May pay dividends here. Alzino. Well, he's had to feed off scraps, Mohamed Alzino.
And Alzino not flowing at the moment. Watched him against Saudi Arabia. As far as I'm concerned, he shoots from improbable angles and improbable distances too much. And that was another example. I'd be giving the ball to that bloke as much as you can. He brings the football we were asking for at half-time. They seem to have found another reservoir of energy and emotion, Syria, and it's serving them well.
Well, Al-Khatib in Arabic means the lion. And they've certainly been lion-hearted, Syria. As you remarked, Andy, they are not going to die wandering. And of course, we'll still have another chance to qualify, even if they lose this game tonight.
And it's a point very well made, that. As hard as they'll push, take that pressure off game 3. Game 3 still exists for them.
Honda. Endo with the switch. Now the chance for Hasebe towards the near post where Maeda was lurking. It'll be a goal kick. Might have been more.
Well, it might have been. Good run forward from midfield from the captain, but these are almost fool's gold, these chances. You expect more from them than you're ever likely to get, really. The angle is so narrow. The keeper's got the passage to the top of the 6-yard box covered. There's defenders everywhere. So much expectation with those scenarios and so little deliverance.
Endo. Nagatomo. Kagawa. Not really hit his straps as yet in this Asian Cup, has he, Shinji Kagawa? No, came with huge reps.
Yeah, I thought he finished the game really well against Jordan. He was, as far as I was concerned, missing in action for a good 60 minutes. But as Japan finished strongly, Kagawa was in the middle of a lot of what they've done. So maybe he's still running himself into national team form. Stellar time of it with Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga at the moment.
Still only a youngster, of course, as well. Now, Endo has pickpocketed Faras Ismail, and Japan could be away here. That's good cover provided by Ali Diab. Japan playing the cultured football. Syria a little bit more rudimentary, but no less exciting.
Well, it's different styles. You go across the world, indeed across the region of Asia, and the different teams play and value different things in a football match. It's the whole beauty of international football, pitting one's wits against the next. We've seen plenty of occasions already in the early stages of this Asian Cup that will can have a real crack at beating skill sometimes. At the moment, skill has its nose in front of will. And it's going to take a hell of a lot of will to turn things around for Syria, but they're certainly up for it.
Yep, it means so much to them, you can tell. In fact, a government official actually flew over to meet the team here in Doha a few days ago and offered them significant sums of money to reach the quarterfinals for the first time ever.
Just seems in this part of the world there are significant sums of money available for all sorts of things.
It's not coming our way, Andy.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I was wondering if it was just me. Nice turn.
Maeda.
It's got to be a free kick.
You'd have thought so.
Yeah. Sometimes you do wonder what an official is saying. Now I think Bilal Abdul Daim is suggesting that if it wasn't a foul, then it's got to be a dive.
Was there contact?
Of course there was.
Okay, second question. Did he go down too easily?
I don't know if that quite matters. Maybe it does to the referee. Their job is to interpret.
Now that's surely a foul. And now, Muslim Turkey is going to his top pocket. Yellow card for Abdelkader Deka. He didn't even bother to argue, Deka. Plays for Al Ittihads in Syria, who actually won the regional AFC Cup last year under the tutelage of Tita Valeriu. In fact, he's only on loan from that club to the national team after after the various problems that they've had. Ratomir Dujkovic sacked for failing to return from a holiday, so they dispense with his services. And he's done a terrific job, considering he's only been in the post for 5 minutes.
Yeah, look, it's hard to judge the quality of a coach. You don't know what the circumstances are of their employment. You don't know what the political situation is in the federation or indeed in the dressing room. So we sit in our lofty positions in the ivory towers, making judgments hither and thither.
Pontificate. It's what we do, Andy.
But I've got to be impressed with what he's done to at least give his team a chance in this game when it was looking pretty lost at half-time. His team's shoulders had dropped. They'd lost their swagger. He's made the substitution to bring on Firas Al-Khatib. He gives them the football that they are going to need to try and edge back into the football contest with Japan. And somehow, after having to... They must have gone close to emptying their tank against Saudi Arabia emotionally.
Here's the corner, one by Khatib, and Ali Diab with the header. He got the direction, but not the power. Technically, it was almost perfect.
It was a nice corner. He got up well. He's a tall unit as well. Couldn't find any power on the header. And Syria are right back in it. Japan have been forced to take a little bit of a backward step. And the question remains from here is whether Syria can keep Japan under pressure. Keep closing the ball down, stop Endo from playing. Don't let him dwell in possession and set up runners left and right.
Well, they're going to bring on another striker in a few moments. Of course, they may take one off. So we'll see what Tita Valeriu does, but Sanharib Malki is standing by. Well, in fact, it's Mohamed Al-Zino who's going to be withdrawn.
Yeah, good change. Good change, but it's too early to throw complete caution to the wind and put 23 strikers on. And Mohamed Al-Zino not offering a lot apart from wayward shooting from improbable angles, in my opinion.
So here's the new man, Sanharib Malki, who plays in Belgium for Lokeren. In fact, he's played all his career there, and he's got a decent scoring record in that country too. 77 goals in 221 appearances for various clubs. So he will form a new look partnership with Firas Al-Khatib.
Malki representing the Assyrian minority in Syria. Doing so very proudly, I'm sure.
Well, the fans haven't given up the ghost. They're still belting out their support from the terraces. And here's Japan's first change. Shinji Kawao off. And Shinji Okazaki on. And he was hugely impressive as a substitute against Jordan. Shinji Okazaki.
I sure was brilliant. A chorus of discontent that he hasn't been starting football matches, and the questions of Zaccaroni why he didn't play when he was obviously in such good form.
That was his first involvement, but he was offside.
I wonder if he's going to be spurred on by the fact that his alma mater, Simon, Takigawa Daini High School, has just won the Japanese secondary tournament, which is massive in Japanese football culture.
Is there anything you don't know, Andy? Who scored for them?
Well, they won 5-3, and I couldn't roll off the goal scorer. It's the first time. But school football is huge in Japan. A lot of the J-League clubs find their talent in the school system, starting to build their own academies and youth structures as well now. Akira Kaji, we know him from Gamba Osaka. He's another from the same high school. Let's see if it spurs him on tonight.
I'm going to start calling you Stato. The linesman's got his flag up on this near side. So Mohsen Turkey will just come across to listen to what he's got to say. Not quite sure what he's seen. Okay, yellow card for Yoshida. And Hasebe, the captain, is asking as to why. A little bit of off-the-ball stuff, but if you're getting yellow cards for that, I mean, that's handbags. That's the sort of stuff that goes on from every set piece, yeah. Corner or free kick.
It's amazing how they pick some and let others go. The Syrian fans who are amassed behind the Japanese goal are sensing something.
This will be an in-swinger from the left boot of Wael Ayen. And again, it's too close to the goalkeeper. Firas Al-Khatib went tumbling in the box and was screaming for a penalty. Well, it's fascinating viewing. Well, there was an arm across Al-Khatib from Endo, but really, I think he was clutching at straws there.
An attempt to get blood from a stone.
So it's Firas Al-Khatib again. Sanharib Malki, the newest arrival off the bench for Syria, putting his hand up for action. Now Bilal Abdullahi. Jihad Al-Hussein. Throw in Japan.
We'll talk about the fight in the Syrian shirt. It's not often spoken about with the Japan players, contemporary Japanese players, is their ability to hold their own physically. I know the JFA through the J-League, etc., they've realised that that part of their game historically has been a real weakness, and they're just immaculately prepared as professional footballers now, not only to, here we go.
Maybe a chance here, Malki, and Kawashima drops on the ball.
Yeah, not only to dribble, shoot, pass, cross, etc., but to withstand the physical pressure of opponents.
I know that Zaccheroni has been working very hard with them in terms of tactics, defending crosses in particular, closing down space.
Well, it is the bread and butter of the Italian football DNA, isn't it? They just love the tactical part of it. Move a metre to your left, move a metre to your right.
In fairness, they've not done too bad at it, have they?
Well, it's worked for them.
Swung in towards Maeda by Japan, who still leads through Makoto Hasebe's goal. Al-Khatib trying to get possession. Now they've got it, Syria. And they almost managed to nick it through, but Japan have got to be careful here. Kawashima straight at Firas Al-Khatib. And down he goes inside the box, Malki. And the referee has pointed to the penalty spot.
It's got to be offside, son. The linesman has been flagging for offside, but the referee has awarded the penalty, and I think he's going to have to give a red card to the goalkeeper as well here.
If that's his decision, he has no other option. A huge talking point. Endo is saying he was offside. It couldn't be a penalty.
Malki must have been offside. There's number 19, Malki, the substitute in the challenge. That comes off Al-Khatib. He must be offside. But he's awarded the penalty, and it's got to be a red card. if he's consistent. Now it's decision time, it's discussion time. Is it too late to bring in the United Nations?
Mohsen Torki is at the centre of a desert storm here in the Middle East.
Well, it's quite unsightly and unexpected, really. Japanese officials have emptied the bench, have joined in the fray.
And they're being told to go back from whence they came.
This is remarkable.
Will he abide by his original decision?
Well, he's decided, he's made the interpretation that the touch didn't come off the number 10, Firas Al-Khatib. That's all he could have assumed. And it's a red card coming out.
Kawashima sent off. And it's a penalty for Syria. High drama in Doha.
And the linesman's being as close to assaulted as you can imagine. I can't see this being the linesman's fault because he flagged for offside. The referee waved the assistant away. The referee has overruled and said, I'm awarding a penalty, and he can only have done that because he's assumed that the touch didn't come off number 10, Firas Al-Khatib. From that point on, there's no question.
There's a foul.
That's not in question. The question is where the touch came from. And Al-Khatib, according to my recollection, was the player who passed that ball through in the challenge. It should have been offside. This is a massive, massive controversy.
And Mohsen Torki, well, does it come off the defender?
That's what he's decided. He's decided it's come off Connor. But I reckon a closer inspection will show that it's Firas Al-Khatib.
And Kawashima is still refusing to go. We could be here till midnight.
What did we say, Simon? Syria had to do one of three things, if not all of it. They had to find more energy. They had to find a footballer, and they needed perhaps some controversy. A referee decision to go their way. They cannot ask for more.
Well, Kawashima's still on the pitch. Still having the debate. And Mohsen Torki needs to take control here. He's made his decision. Now, Alberto Zaccaroni has read it. Shusako Nishikawa, the Sanfrecce Hiroshima goalkeeper. And finally and disconsolately, Eiji Kawashima accepts that he will play no further part in this game.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, this Asian Cup didn't need an injection of anything in particular, but it's just got a huge one. A huge dose of unadulterated controversy.
Ryoichi Maeda is the man who is sacrificed. And Nishikawa comes on to win his fourth cap, but not, I'm sure, in the circumstances he would have wanted, because the first thing he's got to do is to face a penalty which could draw Syria level. What a massive talking point. Well, this will be debated for days. Some of the Syrians can't watch. And the Japanese still incensed.
Well, referee Mohsen started his international career refereeing Japan against Singapore. I'm not quite sure what sort of international career he's going to have after this. Oh my goodness, what a picture. Brilliant, brilliant drama here.
Well, can Firas Al-Khatib put the final line to this extraordinary story by scoring the penalty? Goodness me, what about if he saves it? Firas Al-Khatib for Syria. And he scores! 1-1. Wild scenes at the Qatar Sports Club. A major talking point. What an incredible few moments at the Qatar Sports Club. No mistake with the penalty kick. And Syria's probably all-time football hero scores his first goal at this Asian Cup. But I don't think we've heard the last of that, Andy Harper.
We haven't heard the last of that. And what did Japan do to stop Syria from here? We have been talking long and loud about the emotion behind the Syrian charge. They've got an extra man. They've got a massive leg up from a decision, which remains hugely controversial. And I'll stand corrected, Simon. If the defender did touch it, play on. I don't think it was the defender. I think it was the penalty taker who touched the ball through into that offside position. Whatever. That's done and dusted. Japan are going to have to withstand some sort of onslaught from here.
Wow. Here's another change going to be made by the Syrians, their third and final one. They're taking off Jihad Al-Hussein and throwing on another striker. Well, why not? This is Abdul Fattah Al-Agha, who plays in Egypt. So they're going to go for it. Meantime, Okazaki for Japan.
Well, breathless.
Goodness me, Andy. We've seen the Saudis go out today.
Look at this bloke go.
Might the Japanese be on the verge of doing the same thing? It won't happen tonight. Here they come, Firas Al-Khatib. High-octane stuff.
Well, this has been a fantastic start to the 2011 Asian Cup. What a tournament we're seeing unfold here. What a football match we're seeing unfold here. What a contest we're seeing unfold here at the Qatar Sports Club.
Here come the 10 men of Japan. Well, Okazaki trying to steal into the far post. And Syria with some desperate defending. Honda, little one too. Keisuke Honda! And the save by Mossa Balhous keeps Syria level. What drama we're having here. Goodness me.
That's a good save. It's a good, sharp piece of work from Balhous, who was at fault, I reckon, for the Saudi goal last match, but he made a great save late off Naif Hassazi, a header from point blank, and he's just done very similar to deny Japan.
Endo's corner. Hasebe. They charge it down. Honda puts it into the Doha night sky. And you'd have thought Syria had just won the Asian Cup.
Well, a win and Syria are through. A win and Syria Jordan play game 3.
And Japan are on the brink.
And they have to beat Saudi. And need Syria to beat Jordan.
Yoshida's missed a header. Al-Khatib tees it up for the substitute, Malki. High foot by Matsui. All the momentum with Syria.
Unbelievable. Really, it's unbelievable. It is a high foot from Matsui. He's covered enormous territory. Daisuke Matsui tonight.
Well, penny for your thoughts. Shisaku Nishikawa. He's been thrown into the maelstrom.
He made a good effort to save that penalty. Went the correct way. It was just too expertly taken. From Al-Khatib.
Endo. Maybe Japan are not done yet. Okazaki rolling off the defender. And down he goes. It's another penalty. Incredible. Belal Abdul Daim stuck a leg out and over tumbles Shinji Okazaki. And we've got another penalty kick, this time for Japan. This is unbelievable.
Well, Makoto Hasebe is prosecuting a case for a card to try and level up the playing numbers. Okazaki wriggling, turning, strength. It's a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. The youngsters from Takigawa Daini High School were cheering him on. The whole of Japan is now on the edge of their collective lounge room sofas, save for about 300 in the stadium here at Qatar Sports Club.
Keisuke Honda entrusted with the responsibility. He scored a penalty in the shootout in the World Cup against Paraguay. Can he tuck this one away and ease Japanese nerves with 10 minutes to go? Honda scores straight through the middle. The Blue Samurai lead again, 2-1.
Goal for Japan, scored by player number 18, Izuki
There's
Honda.
plenty being said between Japanese players and Syrian players. That is a really dicey penalty from Honda. But it worked nevertheless. And not in a completely convincing case for the penalty in the first place, in my opinion. And maybe people will categorise that as a get square.
2 penalties given, 2 controversial decisions, both scored.
And the dynamics of this group, Simon, changing by the minute. This is compulsive drama. Let's not forget, Japan's still down a man. The numerical advantage is still with Syria. They'll have about 10 minutes to sew up a place in the next round, but they're going to have to score twice to make that fate come true tonight.
Well, I hope you're enjoying this at home. And this stadium is fairly rocking. Both sets of supporters. And the two teams deserve every credit. They've been slugging it out. There's been some good quality football on show as well, but 2 massive talking points. And maybe the drama's not finished just yet. Syria have a corner to be taken by Firas Al-Khatib. Well, they deal with it, Japan, just about. Drill back in towards the danger zone. Japan can't clear their lines. This is Malki. Down went Faris Ismail trying to get the header on target. And now there's a breakaway on for Japan. The 10 men of Japan. Matsui leading the charge. This is Uchida inside the box, but nobody's on the far post. And it was behind Keisuke Honda.
Well, when he needed the silken touch, Natsuda Uchida, he had too much. It was concrete in the boots. He needed velvet. But that would have given Japan the breathing space they need.
Well, we're hearing the Japanese fans for the first time in quite a long time. There's not as many of them here as those cheering on Syria, as Firas Al-Khatib tests the replacement goalkeeper. Cool as you like.
Well, given what Syria have delivered in 2 games of football now, Simon, I hope the stat you quoted earlier isn't going to come true again. And just to repeat it, Syria consistently win a match at group stage and consistently bow out at the end of the group stage. Let's hope, based on what we've seen so far, they can remain alive as long as they can, because they're producing some thrilling football and they're really forcing some big-name opponents to access some pretty deep reserves of skill and desire.
It's football from the heart, isn't it?
Brilliant, really brilliant. Jordan too, in the same group. Japan, Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Syria. And the 2 smaller footballing nations of Jordan and Syria have had the big guys running for cover.
5 minutes to go. Now a mistake by Nagatomo. First time ball by Malki. Yoshida's header. Nagatomo's attempted clearance is charged down by Malki. And Syria are back on the attack through Firas Al-Khatib. Trying to create a bit of space. All he will get is a throw-in.
Good tactic for both teams. Get the ball into the penalty area at your feet. Put the pressure on the defenders and the referee.
Is there to be a final twist to a quite remarkable game? Bilal's long throw. And it was Hasabi, I think, who took control, took charge, the captain. More pressure for Japan to deal with. Al-Khatib's delivery. Partly cleared. Endo helps it on its way. Balhus, route one. Well, the goalkeeper, in fairness to him, hasn't shown too many signs of nerves, has he?
Cucumber.
Nagatomo. Less than 3 minutes of normal time to go. I reckon we might have a fair chunk of injury time, though, because play was stopped whilst the remonstrations went on ahead of Syria's penalty. Probably the best part of 5 minutes. Here's Faris Ismail. Chance. Firas Al-Khatib, and again the save made by Nishikawa. Good chance that for Syria.
Really good chance. Beautiful ball. Piercing Japan down their right side. But he is a very cool customer. Shusku. Nishikawa. Alberto Zaccaroni amidst the maelstrom, which will be the post-match press conference and the discussion about the penalty awarded to Syria. Alberto Zaccaroni can rest easy tonight knowing that the deputy keeper looks to be the real deal.
And of course, unless that red card is overturned, not sure whether there's an appeal system at this Asian Cup, he will have to play in the final group game. Tito Valerio, I can tell you, is standing at the edge of the technical zone with his head in his hands, or at least he was. Can't quite believe how, having worked so hard, they managed to throw it all away again.
Well, they've had a terrific advantage with that penalty award and then Japan going down to 10 men. But he's done, and his team, but the coach has been very impressive. The substitution he made at half-time has changed the game. The structure's been changed and that's worked for them. Things are just starting to slip away from Syria now. This is how the first half finished. Japan in control of the football. Syria just can't quite get close enough.
Yellow card for the substitutes. Al-Agha. And I'll tell you what, we should give some credit to Japan because they were sluggish against Jordan and got themselves out of jail. They've been asked some serious and searching questions by Syria tonight. And here they are, as we head into injury time, leading 2-1.
Yeah, well, I can only repeat that it's a very impressive football team.
Good teams find ways to get results.
Indeed, and they're a very impressive football culture, Simon. And, you know, they can fight as well as anyone else. We've seen it. They've come back 10 men, won themselves a penalty. They refused to yield. Contemporary Japanese football can mix it as well as play. 6 minutes at a time. You're right, Simon. There's fight in the old dog yet. Japan aren't home yet. As good as they've been and as good as they are.
And it's going to be a nervy final 6 minutes for Alberto Zaccaroni, looking for his first competitive win in charge of the Blue Samurai. Firas Al-Khatib from long range. I'll tell you what, that had some pace and it was moving in the air too.
He wouldn't back against him. Now, this guy's been completely heroic for Japan tonight, my opinion. Daisuke Matsui. He does epitomise the blue samurai warrior work ethic.
Now, a lovely flick on by Honda, but Okazaki was just offside. And Japan will use the break in play to make their final change. And it is the man you mentioned, Andy, Daisuke Matsui, who will be replaced for the final few minutes by Hajime Hosogai, who is actually on his way to Bayer Leverkusen in Germany via Augsburg, a second division Bundesliga club.
Terrific night's work from Matsui. Really super piece of work. Hosogai now with the chance to be part of.
That was Weil Ayan with a bit of a wild lunge at the ball. And it looks as though it may end in disappointment for Syria.
We haven't seen a lot of Weil tonight, which is surprising. It hasn't really been that type of game, I guess. I've never heard so many excitable Syrian fans be so quiet. Haven't they delivered tonight as a fan group? And the team's been wonderful. I agree with you, Simon. At this point, Japan imperious with all the hurdles they've had to overcome. Super performance. Super game of football.
And the bad news is for the other teams hoping to lift this Asian Cup, you sense they can only get better. Lovely flick by Honda. Okazaki just about manages to keep his balance. Down he goes on the edge of the box, and he's bought valuable time there for Japan. There's going to be another yellow card.
Well, emotion getting the better of Nadim Sabag.
Yellow card for dissent, for hurling the ball to the turf.
Clear free kick. Very well won from Shinji Okazaki. He did have Honda in the penalty area. He didn't think he could get the ball to him, so my mistake on the yellow card there just before we move on. And the free kick for Japan is perhaps the best outcome.
We've played almost 4 minutes of injury time. Mosa Balhus organising the wall, but they want the ball up the other end of the park, and pretty quick smart, Syria. Japan in no hurry to take this. In fact, I think they're probably just going to go and run it near the corner flag if they get the opportunity. Well, the Syrians,
yeah, they've got to be careful.
A bit too eager.
Lose it here. And the ball has to roll its circumference.
Second yellow for Sabag. Two yellow cards in the space of a minute.
That's just stupid. That's unfortunate. But a foot on the ball without the ball moving doesn't constitute a free kick being taken.
Just overexcitable.
That free kick hasn't been taken. I don't know, apart from not much, what was going through his mind. He'd completely lost it. It was evident he'd lost it with the first yellow card he'd picked up, and now he misses game 3. The ledger's squared here for game 2.
Now they're coach killers, aren't they? Those moments of rash indecision. Japan have fairly ruined the resultant free kick. Okazaki will try and run the clock down a bit more. 5 minutes of injury time played as Sabag trudges disconsolately around the pitch perimeter. But they've given so much, Syria, to this encounter.
With more to give. It's still alive for them. That Jordan-Syria game is just going to be massive, game 3. And if Saudi can do some sort of job on Japan, then it'll just make it even more intense. Those games will be played simultaneously, of course, so no one will know what the others are doing.
They'll have to come all the way back for a throw-in for Japan, which they won't care too much about. And they're nearly there, Japan. 6 minutes of injury time has been played. Can they fashion one final opportunity, Syria? Anywhere will do for the Blue Samurai. Everybody forward for Syria. This has to be the last chance. Lumped forward by Mosa Balhus. Throw it. Belal has to hurl it long, and he has to be quick about it. The Syrian fans telling him to get on with it. Everybody by the goalkeeper forward. In it goes. Yoshida heads it clear, and the full-time whistle blows. And Japan have won a quite remarkable game of football. 2-1 the final scoreline, but that's only half the story. 2 penalties awarded, 2 red cards issued. Alberto Zaccaroni has his first competitive win as Japanese coach. The arguments go on with the referee, who's at the centre of all the drama. Another yellow card has been issued after the full-time whistle, this time to Ali Diab. The security guards have surrounded the officials, and this could go on for some time. Tita Valeriou getting involved too. It's all ending in very unsavoury scenes here at the Qatar Sports Club. And it's a pity, Andy Harper, because this game was a cracker.
Well, it's undignified, that's what it is, Simon. I mean, they've been brilliant, Syria, for 2 games now. So they've lost a football match. They're still alive in the tournament. And you've got to conduct yourself with a bit more grace. So we can understand the emotion. Anyone been involved in football can understand the frustration. In the sober light of day, they'll realise that losing completely your temper at full time doesn't do anyone any good. The AFC will, I'm sure, now have to investigate this. They put the organising body in a position where they can't ignore it. The behaviour of the coach, as far as I was concerned, after doing a great job as a coach, was reprehensible. Squaring up to match officials and speaking so demonstrably towards them, I don't think is called for.
Well, credit to Alberto Zaccaroni. Whilst all that was going on, he kept his distance. He's not speaking to the referee or the 2 linesmen. Of course, it's a lot easier for him because his team has won. However, I'm sure he will have his own questions too, because both those penalty awards were hugely debatable.
Yeah, exactly. And Syria, obviously, they've given everything for this game. The frustration of losing in those circumstances is really hard to describe. Anyone who's been anywhere near that sort of outcome understands completely the frustration. But when they look back, they'll realise that at the very best, the penalty they won and the send-off of the Japanese goalkeeper at the very best was hugely fortuitous. It was a split-second call from the referee, who only had a split second to make the call. I reckon he got that call wrong, but no one else on the field is to know that. They have to go with the way of the referee, and if he did get it wrong, then Syria have had a massive free kick, indeed a penalty and an extra man. And then to suggest that the penalty at the other end was any less controversial or more favourable to Japan, I think is drawing a rather long bow. I thought it was a controversial penalty as well, and I did raise the spectre of that whole get square type approach, which sometimes happens. Referees don't think about it. Sometimes just happens. There's Honda with the man of the match. He scored the penalty and was largely involved in Japan's opening goal. That beauty from Hasebe, the captain. But a great game of football. Unfortunately, a lot of the post-match talk now is going to be about not the controversy. I'm not